You know that exact moment. You're out to dinner, you've just finished like an incredible meal, and the server slides the dessert menu onto the table.
Oh, yeah. The immediate dread.
Right. Instantly, there is this universal, almost instinctual calculation that happens in your brain. You start negotiating with yourself. You think, okay, if I get the flourless chocolate cake, I have to add an extra 30 minutes to my cardio tomorrow.
Yep, the bargaining phase.
Exactly. Or you tell yourself, I hit my macros all week, so, I've earned the right to wreck them tonight. It is this intense, heavy moralizing associated with satisfying what is just a basic biological drive for sweetness.
It really is.
We usually view dessert like a financial splurge on a high-interest credit card. You get the immediate gratification of the purchase, but then you have this looming metabolic debt that you have to pay off later at the gym. It's an inherent deficit.
Right, it's always a negative balance.
But what if we've been looking at this entirely the wrong way? What if eating dessert was actually the fastest way to hit your nutritional targets? Today we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating document titled Superfood Desserts Without Guilt. And our mission today is to discover how nutrient-dense ingredients can completely transform traditional treats.
It's a huge shift.
It is. We're talking about turning them from guilty pleasures into valuable sources of vitamins, antioxidants, and healthy fats.
And it sounds totally counterintuitive at first because we are so deeply conditioned by decades of diet culture to view dessert purely as a vice.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
A complete sin.
Exactly. The standard paradigm is that treats are something that must be earned through restriction or just avoided entirely. And biologically, to be fair, that fear isn't completely unfounded.
Right, because of what's in normal desserts.
Yeah, when you look at traditional desserts, they are essentially hyper-palatable delivery systems for refined flour, isolated sucrose, and industrially processed fats.
Not exactly health foods.
Not at all. Consuming those regularly leads to a very predictable cascade. You get rapid glucose spikes, reactive hypoglycemia.
Which is that awful energy crash.
Right, that mid-afternoon slump.
Oh, yeah.
And then a massive surge in cravings. But the strategy we're breaking down from this source material today takes a sledgehammer to that entire paradigm.
So we usually view dessert like that financial splurge we mentioned, but this source is suggesting dessert can actually be an investment.
It really is. Because the golden rule of superfood desserts isn't about what you remove. It's not about deprivation. It's entirely about what you add.
Adding instead of subtracting. I love that.
Right. We're talking about aggressively adding nutrient-rich fruits, healthy fats, fiber, antioxidants. When you change the composition of the dessert, you completely change the physiological response.
Okay, so if we are adding instead of subtracting, how do we recreate that rich, decadent mouthfeel of, say, heavy cream or butter, but without the sluggish aftermath?
Well, we start by hacking the base.
Hacking the base. Okay, I'm intrigued. And this brings us to the first massive paradigm shift in the document. Because when we talk about engineering a creamy base, the absolute MVP here is the avocado.
It really is the ultimate secret ingredient.
Yeah, I have to admit, the first time I saw a recipe for avocado chocolate mousse, my brain immediately went to sweet guacamole.
Oh, yeah.
Won't my chocolate mousse taste like a taco topping? I could not reconcile those two flavor profiles.
I mean, that is the exact mental block everyone hits.
It's hard to get past.
It is, but it helps to look at the avocado not as a vegetable, even though it's technically a fruit, but as a highly versatile lipid matrix.
Okay, a lipid matrix, fancy term.
Right. Hass avocados in particular are incredibly rich in healthy fats, specifically oleic acid, which is a monounsaturated fat. That specific fat profile gives it a melting point very similar to dairy butter.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and because the flavor of an avocado is actually quite mild and earthy, when you introduce a dominant astringent flavor like raw cocoa powder, the avocado essentially just disappears into the background.
So you really can't taste it.
The source specifically highlights this. Most people can't even taste the avocado at all. They just enjoy the incredibly smooth texture. It acts purely as a structural emulsifier.
It's just a delivery vehicle for the chocolate.
Exactly.
But unlike heavy cream, which is mostly just empty saturated fat, the avocado brings a massive payload of micronutrients, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're getting potassium, folate, and vitamins K, C, and E. And crucially, you are getting dietary fiber, which is almost non-existent in traditional dairy bases.
Right. So when you blend avocado, cocoa powder, and a natural sweetener to make that mousse, or when you make avocado brownies,
which are amazing, by the way.
Your body isn't dealing with a rapid influx of unprotected sugars and fats. It's processing a complex, food matrix.
which keeps your energy levels so much more stable.
Let's pivot to the second base option, though. Because if someone's listening and thinking, I am absolutely not putting an avocado in my food processor with chocolate, there is a more familiar alternative in the source material: Greek yogurt.
Yes, Greek yogurt is a fantastic alternative to heavy cream.
But we aren't just talking about cutting calories here. The mechanics of why Greek yogurt works so well are actually pretty fascinating.
Greek yogurt is a powerhouse because of the straining process it goes through. By removing the excess whey, you are left with a highly concentrated matrix of protein.
And it brings probiotics to the table too, right?
Exactly. So it creates desserts that feel incredibly indulgent without the excessive calories while bringing in that protein and those gut-friendly probiotics.
You could just take Greek yogurt, pair it with some honey, maybe some fresh fruit or dark chocolate shavings or nuts.
Yeah, and you've got a dessert that feels indulgent but is actually supporting your body.
Okay, so we've established the creamy foundation, we have the mouthfeel sorted, but a truly satisfying dessert can't just be soft and rich.
No, it needs texture.
Right, it needs structural integrity. We need crunch. And more importantly, from a metabolic standpoint, we need to extend the digestion timeline so we don't end up crashing on the couch an hour later.
Exactly. And this is where we bring in oats, nuts, and seeds.
Let's start with nuts and nut butters. Almonds, walnuts, pecans.
The source breaks down the why for these really well. When we look at nuts and natural nut butters, we are introducing a combination of healthy fats, protein, essential minerals, and dense fiber.
And it's the fiber that completely changes the game here, because they help create desserts that keep you fuller for longer.
Right. They're used in things like energy balls, where you combine them with oats, chia, and dates, or as frozen yogurt toppings, homemade granola, healthy cookies.
I actually like to think of ingredients like oats and nuts as time-release energy capsules.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Because if you eat a traditional sugar cookie made with refined white flour, the body breaks that down almost instantaneously. It dumps a massive load of glucose into your bloodstream, and then your blood sugar plummets.
That's the immediate spike and crash.
Right. But oats are different.
They are. The source highlights oats for their fiber and long-lasting energy. Instead of that immediate spike and crash, these ingredients slowly dispense energy.
So you're getting a slow, steady release.
Exactly. Whether you're using them in fruit crumbles, oatmeal cookies, overnight oat parfaits, or those energy bites we mentioned.
And if we are talking about sustained energy, we have to talk about the absolute powerhouse ingredient: chia seeds.
Yes, the chia pudding phenomenon.
It's everywhere. But the actual mechanics of what a chia seed does are wild. It's packed with fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, and plant-based protein.
The source focuses heavily on chocolate chia pudding for a reason. The magic is really in the overnight transformation.
How does that work exactly?
Well, you simply mix chia seeds with milk or a plant-based alternative, some cocoa powder and a sweetener, and you just let it thicken overnight.
And it turns into pudding, just like that.
Just like that. The chia seeds absorb the liquid and create this thick, gel-like texture. Then you just top it with fresh berries, cinnamon, and nuts.
It's practically effortless.
It really is.
All right, we have the creamy base, we have the satisfying crunch, but let's be honest, we are here for dessert.
We want the sweetness.
Exactly. If it's not sweet, it's just a savory snack. So how do we achieve that sweetness without falling right back into the refined sugar trap?
This is where we get into the sweetener debate. And the source explains that the goal isn't to eliminate sweetness entirely.
Which is a relief.
Right. The goal is to choose smarter sources.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because isn't sugar just sugar? Like when it hits my liver, does my body really care if the fructose came from a date or a literal sugar cube?
It's a great question, and it's a very common pushback. But the source explains that natural sweeteners, things like bananas, dates, applesauce, honey, maple syrup, they bring additional nutrients to the party.
Right, so it's not just the sugar molecule.
Exactly. Unlike refined sugar, which is just empty calories, these natural sources bring fiber, antioxidants, and trace minerals.
Think of it like a VIP arriving at a club. Refined white sugar is like a VIP who shows up completely alone and tries to sprint past the bouncers. It causes immediate chaos.
I love that.
But natural sugar, like the fructose in a whole date, is a VIP that arrives with a massive security detail.
Yes. The structural fiber, the minerals.
The security detail forces the sugar to wait in line. It ensures an orderly entrance into the bloodstream.
That is exactly what happens. But the source explicitly warns that they must still be consumed in moderation.
Right. Even with the security detail. If you eat an entire pan of brownies sweetened with dates, you're still going to spike your blood sugar.
Moderation is still key.
Which brings us to arguably the best solution for sweetness. Berries,
Yeah.
blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries.
Nature's candy.
Exactly. They provide natural sweetness, vibrant flavor, but they're also loaded with antioxidants, vitamin C, and fiber.
They are fantastic. You can use them in berry parfaits, frozen berry yogurt bites, smoothie bowls, fresh fruit crisps.
They just add so much brightness to a dessert.
And they actively fight cellular stress because of those antioxidants.
And speaking of antioxidants, I get to share the absolute best news for the chocolate lovers.
Oh, this is the best part.
We have to talk about dark chocolate because there is a massive physiological difference between standard milk chocolate and high-percentage dark chocolate.
It's night and day. Dark chocolate has significantly less sugar and much more cocoa than milk chocolate.
And the cocoa's where all the benefits are.
Right, making it incredibly rich in antioxidants and beneficial plant compounds.
It's packed with flavonols, right?
Yes, and other plant compounds that are actually beneficial for your health.
So how are we using it in these desserts?
The source gives some great examples: dark chocolate-covered strawberries, chocolate chia pudding, homemade chocolate bark with nuts.
Oh, chocolate bark is so good.
And frozen banana bites. You just take banana slices, dip them in dark chocolate, and freeze them.
Wait, that sounds incredibly easy.
It is. And notice the underlying theme in all of these examples. Dipping bananas in chocolate, whisking chia seeds into milk, blending avocado with cocoa powder.
We're talking about minimal effort for maximum satisfaction.
Exactly. These recipes, like the berry Greek yogurt parfait or the avocado chocolate mousse, they take minutes to make.
It completely takes the pressure off.
It does. And that brings us to the most important takeaway from the source material.
The final mindset shift.
Right. Healthy eating is about overall patterns and balance, not deprivation.
So we need to stop moralizing food.
Exactly. Food should never be labeled simply as good or bad. By focusing on nourishment over restriction, dessert becomes something to actually enjoy, not something to regret.
It all comes back to that investment mindset. You're investing in your psychological satisfaction and your body at the same time. It completely unspools the guilt so many of us carry around eating something sweet.
It brings joy back to dessert.
It really does. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into transforming our treats. Thank you so much for joining me today and unpacking all of this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder on your own. If we can successfully rewire our brains to crave nourishment and see dessert as an opportunity to add value to our bodies, rather than just a guilty indulgence, what other guilty pleasures in our lives could we transform just by shifting our focus from what we restrict to what we can add?